Pokemon Go is now so popular it's become bigger than Tinder, Snapchat, and has already spawned its first of probably many clones in Pokemon Go. See, Pokemon Go, Pokemon Go, Yeah, I know. But the world that Pokemon Go has come from is a strange one, and there are loads of crazy theories out there that try to explain it, spanning both the Pokemon games and the TV show. So here are the weirdest theories about the Pokemon universe. All of the Pokemon games take place after a great war. Think about it, why do you hardly see any adults in the game? Why is there no one to stop all these 10-year-old kids from running around on extremely dangerous adventures? And just why is it so important that all Pokemon trainers need to be permanently battle ready? One explanation is because there was a great war not so long before the game started that saw many adult men die, and now everyone lives in a constant state of fear. It's not just the lack of father figures that corroborates this theory though. What few adults remain can usually be found as nurses in Pokemon centers tending to the wounded, or as gym leaders training up a new generation of elite fighters. When you take on Lieutenant Surge in Red and Blue, he even tells you that electric Pokemon saved me during the war. It also explains why all of the towns you visit are so small. There just isn't that much left of them anymore. Pokemon are energy beings that manipulate physics. When you're looking at a world that contains electric mice, moon creatures, and malevolent balloons, it's usually just easier to accept that that's what's happening and move on. But there is a way to explain it, with science. Back in early 2013, a Reddit user called Nameless88 noted that the inside of a Pokeball seems to be covered in mirrors, and went on to hypothesize that a Pokemon is converted into light and then bounces around the inside of a Pokeball at light speed. Pokemon possess the ability to convert matter to energy, and the Pokeball just exploits this. That theory led to a landslide of other ideas, each making more sense than the last. Pokemon convert energy into matter, allowing them to manifest fire, stars, and giant hands for their attacks. Humans and unconscious Pokemon can't be captured with a Pokeball because they can't execute the conversion. On top of this, Pokemon store energy as they gain experience, and when they evolve, the massive amount they release is converted into their new bodies. Basically, this theory suggests that Pokemon is more scientifically sound than the entirety of Armageddon. Yeah, that film starring Bruce Willis blowing up an asteroid. You murdered your rival Pokemon. You may think that you're a hero in Pokemon Red and Blue, but you're actually a bit of an arsehole. Remember your rival Gary? The first few times you fight him on your travels, he uses Eradicate to sink his teeth into you. You defeat it, causing it to faint, but later on you meet him in Lavender Town's Pokemon Tower, a mass gravesite for your little monster friends. And while you're there, he asks you if you know what it feels like to have one of your Pokemon die. It's theorized that in the crowds and confusion after your last battle aboard the SS Anne, he was unable to get to a Pokemon Center in time to help his friend, and Raticate passed away, which makes you implicit in his murder. And if you need some more evidence, Gary never uses Raticate again after those first few encounters, because it's dead. Slowpoke is omniscient. Slowpoke is maybe only second to Magikarp and Bidoof in terms of mockery, and it's regularly ridiculed for its sluggishness. Its Pokédex entry describes it as incredibly slow and dopey, and says that awake or asleep, there is little difference for Slowpoke. And it's true. Slowpoke really does resemble these remarks, sporting a perpetual glaze-eyed stare and only vaguely responding to being attacked. However, things get complicated when you notice that it's a psychic type, which are hyper-intelligent, and that it evolves into one of the smartest Pokemon in the world. So, how is this all explained? Well, how about this? The folks at TV Tropes have suggested Slowpoke is pokey because it's omniscient, which basically means he knows everything. And this constant bombardment of information leaves it detached and unresponsive to the world around it. According to this theory, a Shelder's bite, which is supposed to inspire a Slowbro, actually hinders Slowpoke's omniscience by grounding it in the here and now and allowing it to think more clearly. Suddenly, it makes sense that Slowpoke evolves into a super smart Slowking. He just needs a little highly poisonous nibble to focus his thoughts. Poor little guy. Cubone is a mutated baby Kangaskhan. One widespread theory on the nature of Cubone's origin is that when a Kangaskhan dies, her baby takes her skull and wears it, becoming a Cubone and starting a different evolution path, which is totally morbid, right? This theory is supported by the fact that a baby Kangaskhan has a model nearly identical to that of a Cubone, with only a slight colour differentiation. Furthermore, both Pokemon share a uniquely strong mother-child connection, and no one really knows what happens to a baby Kangaskhan as it ages. The idea has become so popular that some claim it to be fact, and assert that Red Blue's infamous Missingo glitch was actually intended to be the bridging evolution between Cubone and Kangaskhan before it was removed. Dittos are corrupted Mews. Generation 1's favourite legendary critter Mew could be regarded as the ultimate Pokemon, since it's technically all of them at once. Its genetic code contains the DNA of every Pokemon in existence, and it can transform into any of them at its leisure. There is only one other Pokemon capable of pulling that trick, and it's this guy. He's Ditto, and that's not the only similarity they share. In fact, they have enough in common that some have theorized that Ditto are Mew, and they've just been corrupted. The evidence for this one is simple. The two have the same coloration, both in their normal and shiny forms, and they, stay with me here, weigh the same amount at 8.8 pounds. What corrupted the Ditto Mews is anyone's guess. Were they failed clones? There is an established law in Pokemon that scientists have tried to clone Mew, and that's why Mewtwo exists. Or maybe they've transformed so much they forgot what they used to be. If you've got any better ideas, let us know in the comments below. Venomoth and Butterfree are the wrong way around. Everyone makes mistakes, it's only human. So it should come as no surprise that sometimes game developers can get things wrong too. Perhaps by even getting sprites the wrong way around? Just look at the Caterpie, Metapod, Butterfree evolution and compare it to Venonat and Venomoth. Yes, they're both fairly similar flying insects, but why does Butterfree have the same bulbous red eyes and purple colouring as a Venonat? And take a look closer at Metapod's spiky head. It looks an awful lot like the hair or fur tuft on top of Venomoth. No one has ever admitted that it's a mistake, so they've remained canon ever since, but you can't help but be doubtful when you compare them side by side. Pokemon don't say their names, language was created around their battle cries. Language is weird, right? An onomatopoeia, for instance, is a word that imitates the sound it describes, like boom or screech. It's effectively the source of its own name, and language changes to conform to that. Okay, sorry, this isn't an English class, but the idea applies perfectly to the theory that Pokemon aren't saying their names at all. Instead, the sounds that they make have influenced language, and in turn that's where they got their names from. Think about it, what's the likelihood that a fire salamander would not only recognise a puntastic word smush as its name, but have the vocal ability to mimic it? Isn't it more believable that early humans heard Charmander and saw it light stuff on fire and started to associate that to charring stuff? Yes it is, and you've just learned something from magic fighting enemy monsters. You're welcome. Pikachu! And those are the weirdest theories about the Pokemon universe. If you have any more, let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more gaming news, reviews, previews and features right here on Games Radar Plus. You teach me and I'll teach you.